Today we will start our session talking about our forum today. Okay, our forum today will be TRIZ for Education. Okay, so TRIZ for Education will be a part of our topics today. Okay, based on our previous discussion on general topics. Okay, right now we are been some give I think Prof. Rishdi asking about if there is any discussion on this for education. Okay, so maybe the mode of our what do you call discussion today will be open. Anything that we are what do you call have some experience or sharing, okay, on the so-called application of TRIZ in education. Okay, so today's session there will be an introduction session. Okay, me myself and other related members lah on what do you call that might interested to share with us on the application of TRIZ for education. Okay, and then yeah, it could be that the mode will be, I'm not sure if our our group is all English spoken panel, or it could be like we can talk in Malay. So I'm not sure, so we look into that later. Okay, and a bit of sharing experience for TRIZ in education and lesson learn how we try to what do you call teach TRIZ for the school kids or for university level or maybe postgraduate level, and maybe a bit of your experience, your teaching method, and how to apply TRIZ in education. And of course, we will end to the conclusion and closing. Okay. So without further ado, okay, we will look into the team. Okay, our members today. Okay. So we have people we have today. Okay, we have maybe around 3 teams, 3 members. Okay, in the group. We have today is me myself, Zulasni Abdul Rahim, and we have Dr. Rushdi. Dr. Rushdi. Okay, can you introduce yourself?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Zulasni. Hello, everybody. I'm Rizdi from Indonesia. So I think I visited Malaysia very often to learn TRIZ from Dr. Jo and Enghu, of course. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And then next we have Cikgu Syarul Zaman. Okay, Cikgu Syarul Zaman, boleh introduce yourself?
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Syarul Zaman bin Mat Hamdani. I'm a high school teacher. So I'm teaching Form 4 and Form 5 student in MLSM type. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Fauzi, nak ni ke? Nak memperkenalkan diri ke? Okay, so at the moment tak ada respon lah. Okay. So okay, one of our members also ada dekat sini, Fauzi. Okay, okay, silakan.
Boleh dengar?
Boleh, clear.
Dr. Zul.
Yeah.
How are you?
Alhamdulillah.
Okay, I'm Fauzi. Actually, I'm from Proton. Dr. Zul is my colleague, so I want to learn from him about the TRIZ implementation of education. Okay.
Thank you very much. Okay. Okay, and we also have Dr. Adib. Dr. Adib is just joining the group. Okay, so Dr. Adib, are you there?
Like video.
Okay, it's okay.
Yo.
It's okay. Salam. Maybe Dr. Adib can introduce yourself.
Oh yeah. Muhammad Adib Ahmad. I'm of Computer Science USM. Been TRIZ since early years of TRIZ. I think way back in early 2000s. I think all the way. But I've been quite quiet recently with other stuff. I'm joining the session just to share something about TRIZ in learning, but I would like to learn more. And later I will um, share anything necessary
Okay.
to say more.
Yeah, there will be a long session today. So we will open up for everyone to share their experience lah, in have what they call so-called teaching trees to our student. Okay. So thank you very much, Dr. Adib. Okay. So without and then okay. So I think the next after we know our group is available online in WebEx. Okay. So it's just a means of how we want to engage each other lah. Okay. And then we have Puan Ainon. So Puan Ainon nak memperkenalkan diri ke?
Hello.
Silakan. Yeah.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Ainun. I'm actually a housewife, but now currently I'm exploring some ideas for initiating startups. So I'm interested in education. So yeah, I'm here to learning and listening to all of the practicals. Maybe that is useful for getting some insights. That's all.
Okay. So thank you very much. Okay, Pak Inon. So when we talk about, I think we will go to the next topic that we want to discuss today, talking about experience in what they call using trees in education. Okay. So first of all, most of us is what they call use trees. We learn trees, and then some of us have some what they call learn through certification, and other learn from their books, other learn from other what you call people, and so on and so forth. Okay, so and then from there we try to get the what you call understanding what is trees, and we try to maybe at the first time we try to use, we try to apply trees according to our understanding. Okay, so we are self-learning. Okay, some of us, and the most or the best part is actually getting the knowledge. Okay, getting the first-hand knowledge from our teacher lah. Okay, so that is the first step. Okay, and then from there we try to because in Malaysia I think we learn from my trees and so on and so forth, and the approach, the strategy is more exposing trees to education. Okay, so that is how the first phase trees is developed, and all the first what you call pioneer or practitioner of trees is coming from university level. Okay, so from there we try to learn the tools, and we try to teach to our student what we have learned. It could be coming from the certification or coming from a non-certification program. And from there, we try to duplicate the methods of how we train, and we duplicate it. We use the material, we use the what they call the approach, the process, and so on and so forth. And we try to impose the same approach, the same methodology to our student. Okay, so that is I think most of us how we learn back in the day, like 2, 3 years or 5 years ago, and with that we try to impose it. And then we have also another program that been developed under my TRIZ, which is a School of Inventive Thinkers. Okay, so I think some of us, I think me and Dr. Adib have joined the workshop, and from the workshop we have been trained by what you call TRIZ Master Mark Bakken, and also TRIZ Master Anatoly Gwyn. Okay, so from there we try to learn TRIZ with educational kind of approach. Okay, with educational kind of approach. Okay, so when we learn from the two TRIZ Master, they also mentioned about how they establish the methodology and use the methodology in Russia. Okay, and then from there, their approach is looking at the psychological part, looking at the what you call thinking mechanism, and it is suited for school kids. Okay, so for example, our primary school kids or secondary school kids. Yeah, and they also mentioned about the methods on introducing the TRIZ element for the school kid, even for the homeschooling. Okay, homeschooling. So they teach a group of us in Malaysia, and from there we try to understand the mechanism of introducing TRIZ to school kids. Okay, so we know there is a two type of education. We have pedagogy and we have andragogy. Okay, so for those who don't understand these two elements, basically that it is teaching and learning approach. Pedagogy is for kids, andragogy for adult. Okay, so this both two element is different. Okay, so for kids, their mental development, their thinking method is different from adult, and the approach must be fun and exciting. Okay, compared to adult. Okay, they are focusing attention for teaching lesson will be different, and they must be more towards what you call active learning, something like that. Okay, so that is how we want to so-called put what you call TRIZ into perspective. And in the pedagogy, the TRIZ that we learn from certification or structured education for adult, when we try to put into kids for secondary school or elementary school, they must brought down into what you call a level that the kids able to engage with this element. So we cannot impose so-called like TRIZ tool like function analysis, TRIZ tool like contradiction, matrix, and so on and so forth. So we cannot give direct approach in teaching this on some sort of tool. So we need to what been approached, what been taught to us is we need to get the so-called the mechanism of thinking for kids to develop. Okay, so that is the exercise and so on and so forth. So that is a part of a tool and technique for teachers to teach primary school kids or secondary school kids. Okay, So I think me and Dr. Adib have gone through the program called School of Creative Thinkers, and from there we learned a lot about how we want to get engaged with these school kids. Okay, and then and on top of that, I think I've also teach TRIZ andragogy kind of approach, but it is not really successful because the student from the university normally doesn't have this thinking, problem-solving thinking mechanism maturely lah. Okay, so basically they don't have this experience in solving problem using tools. Most probably they are just learning and memorizing things and doing some examination and doing some projects. That's all. Okay. So when we ask them to think about themselves, about certain issues, certain problem, then they don't have any tools or equipment for them to kickstart the problem solving. So that is the challenging also I have in teaching university kids, okay, university students. But the most effective part is actually to teach TRIZ together with some practical exercise. Okay, we teach so-called function analysis, and then we merge together with some practical activity. So from that kind of approach, it could be more effective instead of just a lecturing session lah. So that is a bit of my experience in teaching on TRIZ for education. So I think next, I think I need anyone. I think maybe we can start with Dr. Adib. Okay, so maybe Dr. Adib also have some experience in teaching TRIZ in USM. Okay, so maybe Dr. Adib can share a bit his experience lah on try to introduce TRIZ to USM student in Penang. So please, Dr. Adib.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I have been trying to apply TRIZ for the last 3 years, more or less about 3 years. What I do is slightly different than what we do through the training, simply because we have some what we call some restriction or maybe some constraint that you might be able to do like what we formally train to. So what I did was I embed some of the TRIZ elements in the course. For example, like current semester, I'm teaching computer architecture. So it has been 3 years that I've been embedding TRIZ into this course. The only thing is that what I do is I only focus on the 40 inventive principles. Since I'm teaching advanced architecture, the way how I give this concept is I have, of course, a formal lecture on the principles, on the 40 principles, and then I give them a project. Just a simple project. Basically, they have to go through these 40 principles. They have to pick like 7. Last semester, I asked them to pick 5. This semester, since as the student progress, we see that they are more comfortable. So this batch, I asked them to choose 7 principles that is applied in the advanced computer architecture. So for example, in the memory system, in hardware development, in connectivity and so forth. So the project is ongoing. So hopefully by the end, I think that it will be due sometime after Raya project. So they will do some presentation. Since the MCO, so they have to prepare the video instead of a presentation on class. So for the last 2 years, I have been not only I give them project, but also embed in the exam. For this semester, I decided not to put in the exam. The question asked is very straightforward, just to ask them how do you relate three inventive principles with the computer architecture, advancement in computer architecture. So you'll be surprised, you will get very good answers, like, for example, like my memory hierarchy of computer memory is something like nested dolls. Okay, level cache 1, cache 2, cache 3, and how the memory been arranged in the computer actually is like a nested dolls. Similar is other computer architecture. So with although in and then another challenge is how you apply in computer science, because there's some of the, I think the last 30 to the 40s principles are more on gases, physical, mechanical things, so we cannot apply. So I think the early 20s are quite applicable to computer science, but the others is quite challenging, like porous material. How do you going to apply that in computer architecture? But so far I find it when I the way how to see how they understand, I ask them in the test. So except this year, I give them a project. So I think majority, I think 80%, almost 90%, are able to relate with advanced computer architecture. The only thing that we don't have the opportunity, me myself, I'm not so sure my other colleagues, because in USM there are a group of people in School of Management, there are a group of people in engineering. Dr. Zora told, I think she did the training to the student, the formal one, which I don't have a chance to do the formal one, so I took the embedded strategy. So far, this is my third year doing the embedment, and I found it very, very not only refreshing to the student, but as a teacher, you keep yourself in contact with TRIZ. Otherwise, you also will like not thinking about it. So when you want to prepare to teach, you have to refresh, and then at the same time, I introduce the certification. Those who are interested, they can go and pursue and get the certification. And if you get the right number, we can do the training as well. So far, the cohort that I'm teaching are the final year student. That might be another challenge. So maybe I try to push the school to find, or university to get the student in the early years. Like I think if you if you can get Dr. Nara in, they managed to have embedded TRIZ as a Khusus university. So UNIMAS has been implementing. I think it's already 2 years maybe. I have a chance to meet him last year. He came for Viva and he said, Adib, how's the embedment of TRIZ in USM? So well, we're going very slow. And so, oh, by the way, UNIMAS have managed to get TRIZ as a university course in UNIMAS. So he's happy to share. And then we, like before the MCO, say, oh, one day we will invite him to give a talk to USM, but never materialized at this point. But that's part of the thing that I've done in USM, embedding in the course in the classroom. Although it's very small, but before I go to the inventing principle, we introduce the TRIZ in general, what are the inventors, the preliminary knowledge. So the student, most of them manage to go out and find resources. Of course, I provide some of resources like TRIZ for Dummies and other TRIZ books that are available online. So it seems like very, very, in fact, students even ask, I asked, doctor, do you have any video or recording on TRIZ? The principal say, well, I go and find out. They have the interest is there. The only thing is how we going to make it relevant to the computer scientists. Okay, because that's one of the challenges. I think engineering is quite straightforward, right? That's my sharing lah. Unless there are questions on that.
So thank you very much for sharing. Okay. Yeah, I could like add a few things more actually. For undergraduates, we in UTM, we embedded, we use the same embedded strategy in capstone project. So for engineering student that need to develop what you call group project, so they develop a product. So from the process of R&D of developing a product, they need to do the problem solving first. So the problem solving part before they able to secure what type of product improvement they need to develop. So we in the MJIT UTM try to introduce I think 2 or 3 sessions for the student, try to understand about 40 inventory principle and how they use the 40 inventory principle to open up their mindset. Okay, to open up their mindset. Because as we know that 40 inventory principle is a concept. So we need students to use the concept to go outside the box. Okay, and then try to find solution that ready for the so-called new capstone project for their for their product development. So that could be one of our initiative for the undergraduate. For the postgraduate, we actually have similar like Unipass. I think it's been initiated by Prof. Noh. Okay, Prof. Noh, my supervisor. I think 5 years ago, I think 4 years ago. So there is a one subject called innovation and problem solving. Okay, so we don't really specify a specific terms TRIZ, but we just what you call introduce an open subject for innovation and problem solving. So the core part that Prof. Noh teaching previously, and right now I'm continuing Prof. Noh punya subject. So we promote TRIZ. We promote TRIZ as a part of the problem solving tool. And there is in my what they call master program. So in master program managing technology and innovation, so there is a part of tools, TRIZ tool like trend of engineering system analysis. So they want to do transformation change. That one we try to introduce TRIZ tool a part of the master program, something like that. So it is not really a full-fledged tool, but it's more towards embedded kind of tool inside the certain subject. Okay, so that could be my additional ni lah. So maybe I can ask Cikgu Syarul Zaman. Okay, Cikgu Syarul Zaman from MRSM Typing. So he already use TRIZ and teach TRIZ in MRSM, secondary school. Okay, so it could be a very good insight for us if we can get Cikgu Syarul Zaman to share his experience in teaching TRIZ to school kids. Okay, so Cikgu Zaman, are you there? Cikgu Syarul Zaman.
Dengar tak? Dengar. Halo?
Okay, dengar. Okay.
Mic tadi. Okay, so I've been teaching record chapter subject. This is an optional subject for Form 4 and Form 5 lah. Okay. Okay, so back in 2015 or 2016, lupa dah. At that time, we invite Dr. Zulhasni lah to MRSM Typing, and we initiate a program with others because we don't have any subject straight to taught TRIZ. So we need to we initiate a camp, 3 days, 2 night camp in MRSM Typing, and we invite a few MRSM. And the content is in level 1 content. Level 1 content, which that time be quite challenging because this is a Form 4 student when we want to talk the technical terms. But Dr. Zulhasni succeed to lower the content for the student level. Okay, so the program happened for 2 years. 2016 to 2017. And then in my class we have but for enrichment. This is not stated in the curriculum. So for and for competition purpose, so I taught a few students lah, who compete in the school competition. TRIZ principle lah. Basically, the same. We taught them on 40 principle lah, but not all the 40s. Basically, the first 10 the first 10 principle, and the first 10 principle, 40 innovative principle. Okay. There is a success story, but the success story is back in 2015 and 16 lah. So our student actually now in IT, the student, so he won national innovation competition 2015 or 2016 back ago lah. Okay. That's how we try to implement TRIZ, because we don't have any subject directly to taught TRIZ. It just for us it's kind of enrichment. And for this coming 2018, 2019 into 2020, we are given slots. But the slot is, we call this kemahiran insaniah and kemahiran subject. For the first 1 month, the first January, the first intake Form 4. So I've been allocated about 2 days to taught innovation. But this time I'm not limiting TRIZ. I taught and design thinking. So a very surface lah, more on introduction on TRIZ and innovation. So furthermore, if they want to pursue or they want to apply TRIZ and design thinking in MRSM, we have a SAM program, school-wide program. So during that session, for those cluster who interested in TRIZ or design thinking or any innovation tools, we encourage them to use these tools to do their project. Okay, that's my opinion on this topic. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Cikgu Syahrul Zaman. So Cikgu Syahrul Zaman have applied TRIZ in schools. Okay, so as you know, in Malaysia we successfully put TRIZ in our national Form 2 textbook. Okay, and from there all students in Malaysia been exposed, been given a knowledge called TRIZ. Okay, so it is a good effort from the Malaysia government, and they are actually looking on the new tools to develop creativity and innovation. So we introduce like function analysis, we introduce cause-effect chain analysis, and we introduce physical contradiction. So physical contradiction is more level 2, smaller scope lah, smaller scope compared to engineering contradiction, where actually we need to use contradiction matrix. Okay, so contradiction matrix 39 by 39 is quite difficult to teach school kids. That's why we propose to use physical contradiction, where actually there is only 2 type of physical contradiction. Physical contradiction for time and space. Okay, that is the 2 main element we teach to the school kids. Okay, so right now and then talking about teachers always need some help how to generate the skill of thinking, creativity and innovation. So basically that student that have doesn't have experience in using their thinking mechanism, to have their own thinking mechanism to solve problem, then normally we need to educate them. So we need to guide them. Okay, so for example, how to think outside the box. It's very simple word, to say like think outside the box, okay? But we doesn't give some assistance. We doesn't give some tool. We doesn't give some steps for them how to think outside the box, okay? We cannot give a very what you call direct tools. For example, like function analysis, or it could be like contradiction matrix, or it could be like field analysis or whatever it is. So we need to guide them from zero. So how to think outside the box, okay? So I think one of the elements we learn from the Mark Buchan and also Anatoly Green is actually one of the exercise we use in Malaysia. We use teka-teki. It's what you call guessing game. Guessing game. Okay. So for example, can you guess what inside my pocket? Okay. So the element or the product inside my pocket is have some function, have some shape, some parameter that we can guess. Okay. So with the shape, function, and parameter, from that guessing, we can simply quickly understand what inside the pocket. Okay, what inside the pocket. It could be a pen, it could be a coin, it could be a keychain and what's not. Okay, but the process of game actually try to spark some imagination, try to spark some concept of what actually the product inside the pocket. Okay, so inside the pocket is small. Inside the pocket could be anything small. Okay, so we try to guess yes or no and something like that. After a few sessions, the student able to get the skill in guessing. Okay, so the skill in guessing is very useful to develop creativity and innovation. Okay, to develop creativity itself. And then after a few rounds, a few sessions, guessing game inside the pocket, they eventually develop a structured way. Okay, is it a living thing or is it a dead thing? Okay, so if the answer is non-living thing, then it could be made of what? Okay, is it made of wood? Is it made of metal? Is it made of plastic? Or is it made of other element? Okay, so if the element is non-living thing made by plastic, then we can guess further. So we can eliminate metal things, we can eliminate what do you call organic things, we can eliminate glass, whatever it is. So the product inside the pocket will be made by plastic. And then we probe down, okay? We investigate deeper and deeper by giving some guessing game, question word, okay? So from that kind of game, the kids, the small kids able to develop their interest. They want to inquiry, we call it inquiry-based learning, okay? So this is one of the technique that is very powerful for the kids to have fun guessing what inside the pocket, okay? So in Malay, we have teka-teki, okay? So teka-teki, we can have some, what do you call, proverb. We have some, what do you call, some statement, and we try to guess what actually the things, is it a snake, or is it a train, or is it whatever it is. So that teka-teki, or guessing game, it is in Malay culture especially, is also a part of align with that technique. We try to use student to use guessing words to develop a conceptual imagination, what actually inside the pocket. Okay, so that is one of the element that we can teach for elementary school, or could be we can use for secondary school. Okay, so thank you with that, Cikgu Syarul Zaman. I think next I will ask Prof. Rishdi. Okay, Prof. Rishdi want to know more about TRIZ in education. I'm not sure TRIZ have been used in Prof. Rishdi courses. So it could be like, it is good to know that how does Prof. Rishdi use this TRIZ in university in Indonesia. Please.
Okay, thank you very much. So right now I'm a lecturer in Islamic University of Indonesia, that's located in Yogyakarta. And I'm in mechanical engineering department. So TRIZ is very close to mechanical engineering department. I mean, we have so many courses that related to TRIZ. For example, we have product design and development. Actually, in the curriculum, we don't have like a course named TRIZ, but we include the material of TRIZ into several courses. So product design and development is the course that I think very close to the TRIZ methodology because for example, originating the idea or to solve the problem, to improve the feature and so on, we sometimes had no clue how to solve the problem because we don't have the good tools to do that. And then when I learned TRIZ, it was in 2011. No, 2011. At the time, I went to Malaysia, and there were Dr. Sergei Kovenko from MIT. After that, I continued to learn TRIZ, and I tried to implement what I know in TRIZ to the curriculum in my university, especially in mechanical engineering. So function analysis is very important in product design because when we design something, we have to know the function of all the element. So that I include function analysis in my product design development courses. And then after that, we include also the TIS, the trend of engineering system evolution. And also trimming. Trimming is very powerful to improve the value of product by reducing the the cost. So also I include many tool in level 2 into a course that we include the course in like this is not mandatory course. So student can choose this course because this is elective course, not mandatory. We call it the innovation and problem solving methodology. So because this is elective, the student enrolled in this course at that time was very few. But after I ran it maybe 2 or 3 times and then full because many students interested to join the class to learn TRIZ. And at the end of the courses, I give a student a project and they have to come up with an idea and to make a prototype. And some of the prototype is quite good, and we plan to patent it. I think I have about 2 products that are ready for patent based on the student work. What the problem is that actually we think to how to introduce TRIZ methodology for lower stage, earlier stage, just like for maybe elementary school or maybe for junior high school or high school. I think we have to introduce that in Indonesia school curriculum. We try to learn how Malaysia implement TRIZ into elementary school, but we need like a power to introduce this one, because implementing TRIZ in the like elementary school is not that easy compared to implementing TRIZ in the university. In the university, we have like yeah, opportunity to include a new thing in our curriculum, but for maybe elementary school, we have no chance to do that. So what we are doing right now, we try to train teachers about TRIZ, and like what Dr. Zulhasni mentioned, that we adopt also what Malaysia do, like we learn a lot from Engho related to TOPS, theory of open problem solving. And we learn from Engho also TRIZ for parents and teachers. I myself tried to attend this training 2 times. First in Indonesia, at that time we invited Engho, and the second time I came to Malaysia with my son and my wife to learn TRIZ for parent and teacher. And now we try to train teachers about TRIZ, and we do hope that teacher will deliver TRIZ methodology into the school curriculum. I think that's what I can say. Actually, I joined this meeting because I want to learn, but Dr. Zulhasni asked me to share what we have done in Indonesia. In the national level, we have established Indonesia TRIZ Practitioner Association in TRIZ, and we have trained more than 100 level 1 and about 20, about 50, maybe about 40 level 2. Okay, so currently we try to propose in TRIZ to be matrix chapter in Indonesia, just like my TRIZ for Malaysia chapter. Right now, we still get the help from my TRIZ for certification. So every time I train Indonesian guys, we always provide certificates from Malaysia. And Engho and Dr. Yo help us a lot to establish our own certification. And we do hope that actually this year we can do that, but during because of the COVID-19, and then everything should be changed. And now we are trying to conduct training online, but now we are developing the platform first, because we need a platform to conduct online training, especially TRIZ, because there are so many material that we cannot publish in public. So we have to keep in our responsibility. So that now we are developing the platform for that purpose. Hopefully, maybe within 2-3 months, the platform will be ready, and then we can share to all people who are interested in TRIZ to learn together. Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome. So good luck with that, and congratulations for the So the new step to what you call so-called change against this so-called COVID-19. So it is the best time for us to do the online approach lah. So online approach is quite the new things, the new norms for learning, or what you call getting some information and so on and so forth. So thank you very much for sharing. So we know that most of us, based on our sharing, is actually we try to embed it. We try to our first approach, okay, stage 1, okay, infant stage, okay. So we are not so strong, okay, in try to pushing TRIZ become a core subject. So basically, we try to embed it. Okay, we try to write on the super system. Okay, so we write on the super system, which actually established in our curriculum. So basically, we become a component. TRIZ become a component, and we try to introduce a bit by a bit and try to penetrate in our elective subject or even in our main subject, core subject. So another thing is beside embedded, okay, we try, because as we know that we don't replace whatever available in the system right now. Okay, so in the school they already have a structured curriculum. In university also they have elective subject, core subject. So we actually doesn't like come and replace whatever existing one. So the best approach is actually we try to embed it. Okay, we try to embed it, maybe a certain component like project development, okay, product development. So we embedded a certain element like function analysis. So it is good for engineering students try to look into function model, try to understand functionality, because engineering student doesn't learn about functionality. Okay, so that's the sad part. Okay, so they learn fluid mechanics, they learn aerodynamic, they learn static dynamic, but they don't learn about functionality of mechanical means, mechanical system.
Yeah, correct.
So it is is a really what you call waste of opportunity for us. So TRIZ is the only best topic or even topic for us to introduce functionality. So when you look things on the functionality, it changed our perspective. Even our engineer also, if they master functionality, they could like solve any kind of problem. They could understand any kind of system, mechanical, electronic, or even chemical kind of system easily. Okay, so that is the first part. Another part, when we talk about embedded, I think Cik Sharuzaman mentioned about design thinking. Okay, so we also open up, okay, to introduce new tools, new technique. Okay, so design thinking, and it could be brainstorming, and it could be TRIZ. Another one is Dr. What do you call Cikgu Sharuzaman mentioned about computational thinking. I think that Cikgu Sharuzaman and Dr. Adib also are very, what do you call, close to so-called computational thinking. Okay, so there is an element for us to combine design thinking and TRIZ, or computational thinking and TRIZ, or whatever tools, brainstorming and TRIZ, and so on and so forth. Okay, so because that element is aligned with the mechanism of thinking, how we think. So in computational thinking, we have abstraction, we have pattern recognition, we have algorithm, and we have another one is, I forgot. There's a 4 things. Okay, so we try
Decomposition.
decomposition. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So it could be like maybe we can get a bit of opinion from Dr. Adib. How does we could like merge computational thinking or any other type of thinking with TRIZ? Okay. So Dr. Adib.
The way how I see is all these other methods are like complementing trees. Sometimes it make learning trees easier. If you want to attack trees, let's say want to attack trees, but it's quite hard if you start from the beginning. So you may start with computational thinking or maybe design thinking. Then only you go to the next step where you introduce trees. Like computational thinking, it depends on the school of thought. There are 6 or 5 or 4 elements, but generally they are decomposed. Basically, you break things into parts, which part of the inventive principles anyway. And then we have pattern recognition. That's how our inventors, our TRIZ inventors, go for patterns in patterns, right? And then algorithm, which is very natural, how trees function. So the way how I see computational thinking coming in, try to map to the trees, because for people coming from computer science, jump directly to trees is quite difficult for some. Even me myself have some difficulty. But when I had exposed to computational thinking, then I say, I see the linkage, I see the relationship. Now it make more sense. I think those who have design thinking or any other thinking methodology like design, the thinking hat, and other form of thinking, you find trees going to suit your way of thinking very easily, just like Dr. mentioned. Just another side thing is another challenge in Malaysia. I think same as Indonesia or other part of the world. In the third, particularly to introduce a thinking subject, because our students are not trained to do the thinking. Usually, we are given, you do very minimal thinking and you do the mechanical part like compute, memorize, and so thinking is something that it takes time, but we can start as simple as riddle or thinking game. But I think one of the way of forward is to have a thinking culture even among our students. Asking question in class is very few students dare to ask questions, even at university level. I think at school as even there must be something that have to trigger them so that they can ask questions. So one of the way of cultivate the process of thinking is to encourage them to ask questions, but it will take time. But if we find a way how to intrigue their mind and feel very, don't take it seriously, because every time we talk about thinking, like people like, whoa, it has to be very serious. But thinking can be very light. Thinking can be very enjoyable. But when people start thinking like, oh, problem solving, like, wow, but actually it has to be very natural. Just like speaking, right? Very natural, but it will take time. Just to respond to the point I know, question about how important introducing training kids in thinking tools for young kids 5 to 12 years. Yes, they don't have to be very formal like TRIZ, but thinking tool is something that will trigger how they think next, how the tree grows, for example. When you look at it, how the car moves, all these for kids is very easy. Like even if you have children while driving in the road on the car, you can trigger them with how the aircon function. As simple as that. So let them think, and over the time you can explain in a very layman term about things going on. Just like sometimes the children might ask how the baby coming from. So for parents, it's very difficult to answer how to answer. So you have to be creative how to make the answer so that they can go and find out more and learn more, and sometimes you can answer by questioning them back. So they will keep the what we call it, the macam soalan berantai lah, the chain of questions, just trigger them to get the solution. So they don't get this direct answer. For example, you give a teka-teki, when they get A, say okay, give some more hints so they can guess more, and then that how we instead, thinking is a methodology. We want to have this thinking culture, which not in our culture. I think Russian have managed to get it done. I'm not so sure other part of the world, but I think Russia is one of the most successful country. With all the limitation they have, they managed to go to the moon, just like US. In fact, US spent millions to come up with the grant, to come up with the ink that you can write on the outer space, right? What the Russian did was they used pencils. Solve problem, cheaper, faster, and better, So I'm not so sure whether this is the effect of trees, but this is the effect of thinking. Sometimes you don't need to spend so much money to get things done. Sometimes you don't need very complicated stuff. Just a simple but get things done. So that's just a quick um, sharing. So if anything, I'm happy. Yeah. So pass back to Zul.
Okay. So thank you very much, Dr. Adib. So I think the TRIZ is complementing a lot of subject at the subject level, at the research level, at the technique level, even disciplinary of thinking concept also can be much like computational thinking and TRIZ. Okay, so I will add on a bit regarding with what Ainon mentioned about how does TRIZ able to help kids 5 to 12, kan? So basically, is actually they try to, like Dr. Adib mentioned, is about the triggering point. Okay, so the triggering point is actually the most important part. Okay, so some of the method of triggering is actually try to wait lah, try to get some what you call ilham, or what you call get some wahyu, or get some light bulb coming into your place. Okay, some aspiration, inspiration, something like that. Okay, that somehow TRIZ able to provide you a structured way to develop that aha moment, to develop that triggering moment, to develop the inquiry-based kind of learning. So you ask question, you look into the bulb, and how does this bulb able to generate light? Okay, so how you as adult try to explain in a very simple way how does the bulb function? Okay, so if you learn TRIZ, then most probably the difficult part on explaining things will be easier. Okay, so you can teach kids, but a bulb is actually generated by electricity, and something that what you call involve what you call chemical, or involve thermal, or involve some what you call energy that create this light. Okay, something like that. Okay, and then from there, if you don't get the answer right, it could be like you and your kids need to go together and take a step, learn together. Okay, learn together. You need to Google together. You need to study together, and eventually, you as parent and also the kids have the same understanding how does the light bulb function, something like that. Okay, so it is a process, like Dr. Adib mentioned about. It is not a one day of process that you eventually you become a smarter person, you become a creative person. It is a process. Okay, and we need to assist a younger generation how to become a creative person. Yeah, how to educate young generation to become creative, because normally in a school or in university, when we look student that is articulate, student that have good general knowledge, we perceive them as a creative person because he knows so many things. Okay, so but actually when we test them with some problem, they graduate, and when they enter job, career, what you call experience, it is not about memorization. It is not about getting A in exam. It is about problem solving. It is about thinking mechanism. How you need to survive, how you need to maneuver yourself effectively and provide a good solution. So the thinking mechanism you can educate from the early age. Okay, but for what I know, you need to have you need to get to know the TRIZ approach. So what I learned, what Dr. Adib learned, what I think Dr. Rishdi learned about open problem. Okay, open problem. So it is a good way that we are not getting a right answer from the student. We are trying to get the student think by themselves, think structuredly, think systematically, okay, using the concept of TRIZ or open problem. So that is the thing that maybe you have a board game, okay? By the end of the board game exercise, your IQ might increase, or it could be like you will eventually develop a high thinking order, or you develop a problem solving skill better, something like that. So it could be a skill reskilling exercise coming from your product, like board game. Okay. So thank you very much for your what do you call sharing. And okay, I think we have. I'm not sure it is 1 hour. We have reached 1 hour session, so it's quite engaging for us. Okay, maybe we need to. Anyone want to share? I think just to what do you call conclude our 1 hour session. This is the first session. We could develop a lot of session in coming days or coming weeks or maybe tomorrow. Okay, but I try to we try to conclude our session in our final section. Maybe giving some opportunity for our panel today, okay, and looking at how does your opinion regarding with TRIZ in education, okay. So maybe I give Cikgu Syarul Zaman some concluding remark, maybe 2 minutes, 5 minutes, okay. Maybe some advice coming from your experience.
Okay, thank you. For my, so like what you said just now, we are trying to embed trees in such way in in our background. We have different background, so we try to embed it in our way. But just wanting to Puan Ainun, Ainun. I do attend the Anatoly and Mark Bakken creative thinker creative this for creative thinkers in Penang.
Yes.
And I remember Anatoly bring to one book, Smart Tales book. Do you remember the Smart Tales books? And the book is designed for kids. We have there's a story, and then at the end of the story, there's a question. You have a question, and you ask. So the student should the student or the kid try to solve the problem. And another one is you have a game card, but I didn't bring it in my office. Later on, when we have a session, to bring the cards and the books. So actually, that's how Anatoly batteries for the young kids. Okay, that's for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Cikgu. So yeah, it could be like a material for you, Puan Ainun. Maybe we can share with you later, and maybe talk how we can help you to improve your product and to improve your productive creativity for kids. Okay, so I give opportunity to Fauzi. Anything do you want to say before we conclude our session? Mr. Fauzi? Okay, silakan. Okay, silakan.
Okay. So it's a very good session. Thank you, Doctor, and others panel. I think I even though it's very short session, but I learned a lot. because quite some time for me stop this TRIZ practicing TRIZ because back in year 2018, in early 2018, I involved on the teaching teachers for RBT subject. Quite few schools I went to train the teachers under my TRIZ program. So I think this is time for me to start again this. And what Mr. Dr. Zul mentioned just now is embedded with the current system. How TRIZ we going to embed it with the current system. I'm now in the project management, so what I'm thinking now is same what Dr. Zul mentioned just now. I'm thinking how to embed this TRIZ into project management. So I think Dr. Zul is very familiar with platform culture. It's very tough. From the beginning, I think it's very tough to introduce, even though they appoint me as a corporate trainer, but until now, it's not easy to get through. I think the most important thing is the kesedaran about TRIZ is must come from the top management. Without top management support, I think come from the bottom, it's very difficult. It must come from the top. So anyway, it's good, very good session and sharing with others panel. Thank you very much and see you again.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. So we have here Munze, Cikgu Munze. Cikgu Munze, dia nak cakap apa-apa ke? Dia nak share apa-apa ke? Dia just nak join je, okay, tak apa. So go back to Dr. Rishdi. Dr. Rishdi, before we end our session, any what do you call, anything you want to say before we end our session? We give some room for you to what do you call, want to ask something or whatever it is, okay?
Okay, thank you very much. Last time I had opportunity to visit Netherlands in Enschede, and there were very good occasion, program there, what we call a Smart Solution Week. In that occasion, the university hosts the program that they invited industry to send the problem and then ask students to solve that problem by using TRIZ. Okay, it was very good experience for me because at that time I were there, and then I was included in the team. And what I can say that maybe we can do the same thing in Indonesia and Malaysia, I think. And I think it's a good idea if we have a similar program like that under collaboration, maybe between my university and university in Malaysia. We are very happy if we can have this kind of collaboration, because I think what I learned from my visit in Netherlands last time, they invited students from many backgrounds. So in one group is about 5 or 6 students with different background. So some from engineering, some from medicine, some from economic and law, and so on. And then university teach them just a bit about design thinking, and then about symbol trees, especially physical contradiction at the time, and how to generate idea. And the good thing is that because they are from many discipline, and then the physiology inertia will be reduced. And the industry said that don't think about the technology, just think about the idea. Technology is my portion. An idea, fresh idea, should come from university, especially from young generation, from students. And that's very nice, because maybe industry already full of idea, but not fresh. But having a student, hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Can hear you.
Okay. So, but having students from many backgrounds, industry can have fresh ideas. And when they said that don't think about technology, it means that a student has no constraint. So having no constraint means that they can come up with very wild ideas. And wild ideas, I think that's the industry want to seek, so that they can have new development in their product. I will be very happy if we can have that kind of program, and if we can have collaboration, especially with Malaysian University. I think that's a very good idea. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, that's a very good offer for us. Okay, so we can collaborate between Malaysia and Indonesia regarding how to develop a good module for kids, maybe for providing their experience in problem solving. Okay, so I remember one of the tools we learned in level 3. Okay, we call it like smart little people. Okay, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Smart little people is really outside the box. Okay, you think about the small people doing something, have some capability, have some superpower, and so that kind of for me, first time when I use that smart little people is really what they call provoking. Okay, because you are mechanical engineer by nature, and then you are thinking about the small smurf, small dwarf doing certain thing to solve a problem. So yeah, it could be like we can collaborate, inshallah, and I think we have a team here in Malaysia that also align with that vision. Okay, so we have I think 2 more. I give to Ainon. Ainon, anything to say before we end our session?
It's just sharing. Actually, before I developed the board game, the initial idea is to have some tools or methods to assess like we always listen about 21st century education and all, and about 4C skills, but I don't think in school we really have tools to assess how like IQ test we have like scores and all, but we don't have tools to, I mean, I don't know if there is any tools to get some scoring for that skills. But then the idea is, I think, is not feasible, and end up I mean, the more practical thing to do is to have some physical tools to develop or to encourage all the skills needed. So the board game, I think, is the easiest I mean, comparing to other technology parts methods. So board games is the easiest thing to come out, and then later on, I think why would I should invest? I mean, in thinking about tools to assess the skills. Why not? What? Why do we need all the skills? Where actually we need all the skills because we want to solve real problems, right? So the objective for the skills is actually to solve problems, not just to have like high scores for skills, but I mean for nothing. So and then I try to think what are the problems that I'm interested to solve. So as young parents, I'm quite concerned about bully issue. So it's not about like technical things; it's social issue. So I try to develop a board game themed on a bully. So but now what I already have now is maybe because I don't have psychology background, so it's not for what we call treatment, not treatment purpose, or uh, apa so we this games is used only for increasing the awareness, and also I would like to encourage kids, and also along with the mothers, the parents, or the teachers to think how to solve, because there is no such concrete answers how to solve the issue, right? But you have to think. You have to think, and you have to have some like assertive what we call it, like behaviors and certain mindsets before you can really solve the issue. So regarding our session, I'm thinking of maybe for later stage, maybe we can embed some suitable tools, maybe like TRIZ or other tools, to make the thinking process is more structured, and also we can train them, and also maybe if possible we can have some sort of simple assessments, so that okay, how I mean if I say that this game is the purpose is to increase the problem solving skills in kids, for example, so how do we prove it? Yes, so that's it.
It could be like there is a good thing if we have a measurement,
Yeah,
or assessment lah, to let's say with that board game, your some sort like IQ lah kan, some sort like IQ. Okay, so thank you very much Puan Ainon. Last but not least, I need to give it to Dr. Adib. Okay, any what do you call final say before we complete our session?
Okay, try to make it cut and short and sweet. So I think one is the challenge that we have now, how to make thinking as a culture, and then the thinking actually for children. Remember when we go with Mark Bakken and Anatoly, one thing that that I still remember from the training is that children, while they are every day they wake up in the morning, they are solving problem because they have to decide what to eat, what to wear, what to do things, and then that's why they have a lot of questions. But as we grow up as an adult, we know already what to do, so we stop thinking of what to do, and then over the time it become a routine. Then we kind of like forget about thinking. But actually, you have to make thinking as part of your daily process. It doesn't have to be like crazy people thinking, but thinking to something that you don't have to have 100 ideas, maybe 1 or 2 ideas a day, and then think about it, and then put in writing or something, or maybe talk to people that you. So that's one way, is to how to make thinking as a culture, which is not in our culture. Although even I think all of us are Muslims, so even in Quran also mentioned about afala tatafakkarun. Always there are many afala ta'lamun. There are a lot of questions that Allah posed back to the Muslims. Do you ever think about it? When you look at the sky, how perfect the sky are made. So this is actually, it's a tool for Muslim as well. But it takes time. It takes time, but because we are so used to spoon feeding from the school, and then go for the exam for marks, for high marks, and then sometimes you get the mechanic, but you don't know why. So this has to be slowly changed, but it will take some time. It's not overnight, but let's strive and make it happen, and start with a small step. Okay, so keep thinking. So thank you very much.
Okay, so thank you, Dr. Adib. I think we have a very good session today, and coming from school, coming from mother, coming from universities, and we are also exploring new opportunity for TRIZ to be applied, and try to develop so-called thinking skill. So it is rare to discuss about thinking skill, where actually our curriculum education is not really focusing on that. They are focusing on who get A's and who get B, C, or something like that. So yeah, it could be like we look into our children in urban area or even in rural area. Some in rural area also have a very good thought process. Okay, so we need to what they call make this thing liberated. Okay, everybody can think, and we need to just share how to do things better. Okay, and TRIZ is one of the best tool to use it. Okay, so that's all for today. Okay, thank you very much, Egu Syarul Zaman, Wan Ainun, Prof. Rishdi, Dr. Aidi, Cik Fauzi, and also Cikgu Munir for joining this session. So I think everybody see us live in our Facebook and also get benefit. InsyaAllah Ramadan diberkati Allah, kita ilmu ni kita share. Okay, so that's all for today. Okay, we can see again in future and discuss on the collaboration and a lot of work together regarding with how to put TRIZ a part of the education mainstream. Okay, so thank you very much. Okay, bye bye everyone. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, have a good time. Okay.